I paid under $7 for this MacBook Pro. In this video, I'm going to tell you what to look for so you can find one cheap just like me. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Tony. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoy this video. As I teased in the opener, I was able to score this MacBook Pro mid-2012 for under $7 total. So to kind of give you a little bit of a background here, I actually found this on social media, or more specifically Snapchat. So it was through a friend, however it was not offered directly to me. They were offering this as a water damage, or I guess tea damaged MacBook Pro mid-2012 for $0. They didn't really know what to do with it. They had already bought a new computer. So I realized I didn't have a lot of risk involved in this, but I promise you there are a lot of these out there like this. So to start off, I kind of asked a few questions just to kind of see what the symptoms were, see if it was worth even taking on the project. And these are important to you too, and they can really help you determine if it's worth checking out or worth, even trying to replace any of the parts. So when I asked the person what had happened, they said that they had spilled some tea on the corner over here, and when they did that, it actually still worked. They shut it off real quickly, took it in, and somebody said that it was probably going to need the logic board. However, the thing that kind of changed my opinion about that is that they could get it to work and it just wouldn't charge when they originally got it. Once it died, they couldn't get it to turn back on. And one of the main symptoms of that was the light on the charging cord was very, very dim. And I'll put a video up of the charging cord normally so that you can kind of see how bright it's supposed to be. So when I found that out, I kind of assumed that it wasn't going to be a logic board and likely something to do with either the battery or the charging cord itself, or the charging port, excuse me. So I knew that it was going to be a relatively cheap fix, and even if it wasn't, the thing that you have to remember about the MacBook and the MacBook Pros, their parts are still worth a lot of money. So let's say you spend a couple $100s on a MacBook that potentially needs a logic board. Well, if you get a logic board for $300, okay, so you're into it for say $500. That's still not a bad investment if you have a decent enough MacBook. Now, let's say you get that and you aren't able to fix it, or you don't want to throw that $300 into it. Your screen is still going to be worth money. People are still going to want to spend money on that for their parts. Somebody like me is going to, consider that because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody else's project. Anyway, so when I got the computer, I didn't really ask a whole lot more questions. I just kind of assumed based on what they told me, and it kind of started building some troubleshooting in my head. Now, I will tell you a story that there was actually a mid-2017 laptop for sale this week in my local area on Facebook Marketplace. That was also listed for $300, and basically what had happened is it had died while somebody was wiping the hard drive and they couldn't get it to turn back on, and when they did, it just gave it the battery indicator light. Now, this is going to be converging into what I did with this to get this running originally. So there is something called an SMC Reset, and I will link that down in the description so you can find out how to do that yourself. But basically what you do is you hold a series of keys, and I believe it's, off the top of my head, it's Shift, Option, and then the power key, and it will actually reset the memory in there and allow it to boot up. So mine didn't do that right away, but one of the things that it did do or did work was unplugging the battery from inside the case, and then from that point, then I was able to do the SMC reset with it plugged in and get it to boot up. Now, when it booted up and I plugged the battery back in, the fan ran the whole time, and it ran decently slow. So at that point, I kind of figured that it wasn't going to be the logic board, but let's dive inside of the laptop a little bit, and I'll kind of show you what to look for on the case or on the motherboard, just in case you are having any issues or you think that there's some water damage inside of it. So why don't you bring it on in here, and I will set it up and take apart the base, and I'll kind of go through what we're looking for here, and then from there I'll kind of show you what I did and how I was able to fix it. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do is get yourself a nice little handy electronic screwdriver kit. And actually, to take the base off, it is just a regular Phillips mini Phillips 00 double-aught screwdriver with yeah, no special tips or anything for this one. So we're gonna go ahead and take off the 10 screws here on the base. 3 of them are different, so make sure you remember where those go. However, they're not gonna fit anyplace else. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick here, and then I will visit back when we get the base open. As you can see, I am opening all 10 screws. So these are the longer screws themselves.
1 hour later.
All right, guys, so ready to lift the back cover off, and it just pulls off really nice and easy. So as you can see, there is some residual dust in here. And one of the first things I want to point out is going to be the watermarks. I don't know if you can see this. You should be able to see this, but there are what look like some water residue here that looks differently than the dust pattern. That's one of the things that you want to look for. And then what you do with that is look for it on the corresponding board and exactly where that is taking place. Because if there is an issue, then that is someplace to focus your attention on. So as you can see, there is watermarks. So if we flip it over, it looks like the watermarks are going to be back here on the board here. So as we pull up into here, you can see that there doesn't seem to be any water damage or anything on the board itself. It looks pretty clean. So that actually is a really, really good sign, and one of the first things that made me really excited about this computer. All right, so as I mentioned previously, you can disconnect the battery, and once you do that, you're able to perform the SMC reset. So the battery connector is just right here, and that just pulls out like so, just lifts up here. So there we go, the battery is now disconnected, and you are good to go to set up your SMC reset. All right, so the next thing that I did was I removed the motherboard. So there's a bunch of Torx screws here, and I believe it's Torx 5 that works on these. And there's just a bunch of them around here, and then there are a bunch of ribbon cables. So what you want to do with these ribbon cables is be exceptionally careful, as they can get damaged. This keyboard one is easily the hardest. I'm not going to take the board out right now, as it is already done and mine is fixed and working. You're going to need to remove the fans and then all of these connectors here as well. Be very careful with this connector here, the speaker connector, as this one is actually a slide, actually pulls up instead of sliding out. And if you want to know, I actually pulled on it and pulled the pins right out of the harness, and I had to repin the harness. It wasn't a big deal, but it might be a pain in the butt for somebody less experienced than myself. All right, so now to what I actually found for the problem on this computer. I took a shot in the dark, and this is why it cost me $7, or I guess less than $7. I think it was like $6.75 or $6.72, something really weird like that I don't remember off the top of my head. But it is this little AC DC board right here that is for your MagSafe power adapter. So you remove this motherboard, and then there's 2 screws here that allow you to pull this board out, and it connects right here. So when I mentioned earlier that the MagSafe was coming up with a really faint green light, that meant that it wasn't charging correctly, obviously, because it wouldn't charge the battery either. But that was my first indication that it was going to be this little board here and not the logic board. Generally, if it's the logic board, you're not going to get the computer to run, or there's going to be some other bigger issues. So at that point, I replaced this board, and I will link in the description to a similar eBay auction. I bought it on eBay, probably from some Chinese shop. I think it came from Shenzhen. So there's plenty of them out there, and it's really easy. It probably took me 20 minutes to put in, and like I said, it cost me a total of like $12 because I expedited shipping because I was really excited to do it, but it was under $7 for this part. So that is one of the biggest things. Now, while you're in here, you might as well go ahead and, once the fans are out, and clean the heatsink here. There was a layer of film and dust right here that was pretty bad, and I really think that it helps it run better. I know the fan doesn't make nearly as much noise. It doesn't run nearly as often. So as you can see, there wasn't any obvious water damage to here. So generally speaking, it's gonna not be the IO board or the logic board, and it's gonna be this board right here, which I said is under $7. All right, let's go ahead and button this back up here, and we will conclude this video.
2 hours later.
As you can see, guys, there was really nothing to be afraid of inside of there. It's just a few screws. There are plenty of guides online if you have any questions or you miss anything. And as I said, I will put that SMC Reset as well as the PRAM Reset in the description, just because somebody's already done it and probably explained it better than I can. So I'll put that down in the description. You can follow along there. And as you can see here, after replacing that $7 board, this computer is working just like new. It really had zero issues. I put that in and I found out that the lighting cord here was working just great, and I had zero issue from there. Booted right up, I logged right in, and everything worked. The battery still has, 5 hours of charge on it. So everything came out great. So now that you have your laptop booted up and you are ready to play with your brand new MacBook Pro or new to you MacBook Pro or MacBook, what can you do to make it run faster? So if you've made it this far in the video, coming up in the next video, I'm going to show you what I did to upgrade this for $100 to make it run like a brand new computer. So you're not going to want to miss it. All right, guys, that's all I have on this one for right now. I hope you found this informative. If you did, definitely hit that like button. And if you love this video and you found a cheap MacBook Pro, definitely hit that subscribe button and then hit that notification bell right next to it. If you have anything to add in the comments or any questions, anything that you want me to answer, leave those down below, as I definitely read all your comments and I will do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.